I said, I'm going to try this whole live thing again. You know, I'm still trying to learn how all of these things work. But just a brief video. While I'm trying to test these things out, I thought, okay, maybe I'll discuss my situation that I'm having as far as finding a new apartment. So if you haven't seen my previous video was titled, I think, #moving sucks. And it kind of went into some of the issues that I was having up until that point, finding a new apartment. Like the pricing and all of these excessive fees that a lot of these apartment complexes are charging now. And the management and the leasing consultants in the leasing office, I don't feel was very communicative. I felt like I was always reaching out to them, trying to get updates and information. And the fact that they didn't have an apartment ready on my move date really left a bad taste in my mouth. I have been renting for a while now, and I've rented at several properties, and I've never had an issue where I set a move date and my apartment wasn't ready on that day. And what I have found in doing this is that this is not something that's indicative of that particular management company. So obviously, you know, that apartment fell through. They didn't. The apartment wasn't ready, and so of course I had to continue to look. And what I was running into was that the pictures on the website wasn't entirely accurate, which of course, you know, you're going to run into, right? So I would find apartments, I would, you know, do my research. And the thing is that when you have certain requirements, like I reside in the DMV, but I work in DC. So I'm actually, I was trying to stay in a certain area to make my commute to work easier, right? And so a lot of the apartments that I was looking at was not too far from where I live now. So I said, okay. I would go out. Well, I would do my research online, look at the photos, like, okay, this looks like a decent, you know, looks decent enough. Call, get some pricing information. And then I would go out. And what I realized is that a lot of these management companies, they put a lot of money into the cosmetics of the communities. So you'll see, or at least that's how it appears on the photos. Like it looks, you know, the photos look polished, and then you'll go out and they look decent, but then, you know, with the closer look, you see like a lot of the paint jobs are crappy. The buildings are kind of outdated. The appliances are outdated. The cleanliness of the communities now, and I'm not trying to say that this is indicative of the community in which I live, because I do reside in a predominantly Black area. And so we do know on one hand that a lot of these areas are kind of underserved as far as when it comes to sanitation and cleanliness and things of that nature. And so we have that also playing a factor into it. And then you also have a situation where the residents themselves impact the cleanliness and the upkeep of the property. And so I try to be fair and balanced when I go to look at apartments, because I know that it's not all the management's fault. They can only do what they can do, but residents also have to do their part, right? And so, you know, I would go in and I'm like, the buildings would have a weird smell to them. The doors would be all scratched up, like the paint, you know, it was, like I said, a shoddy paint job. It's like, I don't know, when was the last time you put a fresh coat of paint on these doors? It just didn't look well maintained. And so, and you know, I don't want to name any of the properties by name, but there was one property I went to. I'd stayed at a property that had the same management company. I'm like, okay, and that property where I stayed initially was pretty decent up until my last year. I was there for 4 years. And the one where there was issues that I had with the property. They had the zone lines, you know, the kind of the units that you see in hotels. And so they had those in the bedrooms and the living room. And so okay, you know, but the apartment itself was a nice size apartment. I had a ton of closet space. It was affordable at the time. It was just, you know, that was something that I could overlook. And another thing is that I lived in a building where they charged water. So it was everything included except water. And that's a whole scam in and of itself, because it's like, okay, if I'm gone all day at work, then I would look at my water bill and try to figure out, like, why the hell is my water bill so high? Especially when I would talk to people who were renting homes and would say, well, goodness, why are your bills so high? My bill's not that high, and I live in a house. So the way that they would calculate the water was kind of fishy to me. And the fact that they controlled the heating and the air. So they would, you know, switch over to the air at some point during the summertime. And then, of course, they would have to switch over back to the heating. So you had no control over that. But for the most part, up until, and it was a high rise, so I lived on the top floor, and they had a trash chute on each floor, which in and of itself is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because, you know, when the weather's bad, or, you know, you just tired and lazy, you can just drop your trash down the trash chute. But the bad thing is that people were treated like it was a trash room. And it was like, no. So they would leave their garbage in there, which played a role into the rodents that I had towards like the last 6 months I was there, which is one of the reasons why I left. And so towards the end of the time I was there, they had a mice infestation. And so those zone lines, I felt like, was like an entryway, how these mice were getting into my apartment. And it would just be crazy. It would be to the point where you could hear them in the walls. It would be that bad. Like, I don't think that was the last 6 months I stayed there, I had a decent night's sleep. So I got out of there. And so the property that I went to look at, it was actually like two properties in one. So you would go to the rental office was at one property, but that rental office managed both properties. And so I went to the rental office to meet with the leasing consultant, and they were going to take me over to the apartment was actually in the other property. And so I walked into the building, and I'm like, oh God, I'm just not liking how this looks. Even the cosmetics, it just, nothing was inviting about that property. And when I got over to the other property, they didn't take me. I actually had to drive over and meet them there. That property was worse. And I'm just like, okay. And you're wanting how much for this apartment? Okay. So that didn't work out. And of course, there was another property. There were a number of situations like that where I would go out to get the properties, and they'd just be like, this is just ridiculous. This is just ridiculous. But eventually, I did settle on a property that's not too far from me, and went through the whole process of getting approved. Had my move date set, which was supposed to be July 7th, which is this past Saturday. So my apartment, everything is all packed up. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go in on Saturday, pay my deposit, pay my prorated first month's rent. I already had I already had my leave set up for my job, because today's the 9th, obviously. So this was supposed to be my move day. I already had somebody set up to drive the truck. I already had everything planned, right? I was going to, to get into this apartment. I was going to pick up my keys on Saturday after paying my money and signing my lease, and I was going to go in and clean. And you're thinking that everything is going to run smoothly. And so I get there, because the leasing consultant that I had been working with, she was out from the 4th up until the 7th. Her first day back was the 7th, right? So I go in, I say, yeah, well, I'm here to, pay some of my lease, pay my, get my keys, da, 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 da. So she looks into the system and she says, oh, okay, so your move-in date is on the 20th, right? No, my move-in date is today. And so she's like, oh, it's today. Yeah, it's today, the 7th. It says it on my application and on my paperwork. It says my move-in date is today, July 7th. So she looks and she's like, well, I've been out for a few days, so let me check my email to find out why. Maybe they sent me an email letting me know why the apartment is not ready. So she's going through her emails, she's scrolling through her emails, right? And so the next thing I know, I get a phone call. So now I'm already frustrated, because this has been a long process, just getting to this point, right? It's been a long process just to rent an apartment, right? So I'm sitting there and my phone rings. And of course, I just let it go to voicemail because I'm looking at the number and it was a Maryland number. And I'm like, look, kind of looks familiar. But, you know, I've talked to so many people. I don't know. I don't really know. So I just let it go to voicemail. So she's looking through her email and then she starts, you know, calling maintenance or whatever to try to find out about the keys and what's what. Because she's saying she didn't receive a message. So while she's doing that, I decided to check my voicemail. Okay. So I hear what's going on with the apartment that I'm supposed to move in. I actually received a call. Here it is, July 7th. Now, I was supposed to have been in my apartment in the other place by the end of May. They're now calling me to say, oh, well, I have some great news. I didn't even waste my time calling them. We are how many months later? And you're just now calling me about an apartment? And then, so that further added to my frustration and anxiety because now I'm like, okay, I got all this stuff set up. This apartment is not ready. I'm worried about whether or not, you know, I'm going to be, if I'm going to get this apartment today, if I'm going to have to cancel my, because I'd already rented the U-Haul, put the deposit down for the movers, and, you know, everything was all set. So I'm thinking, am I going to end up, not only am I not going to have an apartment, I'm going to end up losing money at this point. So the apartment that I was going to move in was a ground level walkout. So I'm thinking, okay, that's going to be easy because I could just park my car. I would be able to park and the movers will have an easier time going in because they'll be able to go in and out through the patio to get the stuff in. So it'll be a lot quicker. Okay. And the apartment was about 610 square feet, which is the model they showed me, it's just me. So it was plenty of room. So, okay, that apartment wasn't ready. So she was like, okay, I'm going to go out here on the property, try to figure something out that's fine in the apartment. I'm already upset because, again, this has been a long, stressful process, just finding an apartment, okay? And so I'm sitting there and sitting and sitting and I'm stewing and I'm frustrated and sitting and stewing and I'm frustrated. And I'm sitting and she left out and then she came back and I'm thinking she's going to have news. Oh, she's like, oh, I have to go get the keys. So first I'm thinking, okay, why would you leave without taking the keys with you? You took the list of apartments with you, but you didn't take the keys. Okay, whatever. So she left, and I'm sitting and I'm waiting and I'm stewing. I'm sitting and I'm waiting and I'm stewing. And there was another leasing agent in the office, and he's working with somebody else. And eventually she calls him and said, oh, no. Actually, before she left, she was like, I think there may be an apartment here, but it's an upgraded unit. So let me see if I can get a concession for you. And so I think initially they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to give me the concession, right? Which is basically giving me a break on the rent because this was their mistake. So she went out and she looked around, looked. And she called him and said that she found an apartment, called him to have him relay the message to me saying that she had found an apartment and that it was an upgraded apartment and that they agreed to let me have the apartment for the same rate. Now, the only difference is that they agreed to wash in the regular machine and have to have that added to my electric bill anyway. So she came back and she told me the apartment number and the apartment building and the apartment number in the building. So I'm like, okay. She's like, oh, but she eventually comes back and she explains everything to me. Have the people. Okay, so she gave me the number, the building number, and the apartment number. So I go around and so I can see the surrounding areas of the building. And luckily, somebody was able to let me in the building. I couldn't actually get into the apartment, but I just want to see what the inside of the building looked like because when you get this particular property, they only have the model to show you. So I had no idea what the inside of the building looked like. So I was able to go in. I'm like, oh, okay. Once again, nothing to write home about. And it's not a walkout, what she told me, but until I went to see it, I was like, okay. So it wasn't a walkout. It was like a brick wall. They came up to like your waist. And then there was like a hill. But well, I won't say hill, but grass. And then there was like the walk path, and then some woods. So I'm looking at this setup and I'm like, okay, I am not liking this. And then I look down and I see there was like somebody was feeding stray cats. So I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So there was like this little thing out there where the cats was just lounging and luxuriating, right? And then I saw a bowl down there, like somebody's been feeding stray cats. So there were cats all down there, right? And so I looked up at the person that would have been my neighbor above me. They had so much ish on their balcony. I'm just like, it was like they were using their balcony as storage, as a storage place or something. It was so much crap on that balcony. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, wait a minute. I can only imagine the bugs and whatever else is up there because it was that bad. So I'm like, okay, so I would have to contend with these stray cats that from all intents and purposes have become accustomed to coming to this apartment for food, right? And so I called my sister and I let her know what's going on. And while I'm standing there talking to her, looking at the building, another cat comes out the woods and go down, just don't hop down there with the rest of his little buddies. And they just chilling, just looking, they looking at me like, what? Like, why are you here? Like, I'm just like, so I just went on and skedaddled. I just got in my car, and my sister and I were talking. And I said, you know what? My anxiety was on like 10. And for a person like me who suffers from anxiety, when things don't run smoothly, it's an interesting conflict because I feel like I tend to rise to the occasion, but it also creates a lot of anxiety in me. And it just does something, just sends something through me, right? So at this point, here I am, how many months into this moving situation? My apartment is all packed up, which is why I'm actually recording this on my computer, the laptop computer, because my cameras, all my stuff is still packed up. And I haven't just had the energy or the wherewithal to go through this stuff to dig it out. So I come back over to where I'm staying now, and I go into the rental office, and I say, okay, what kind of discounts do you guys have going on? They say, oh, we don't have any discounts going on. Okay. So if I sign another lease, what am I looking at as far as my rent monthly? So she came back, she gave me the amount, and I'm just like, okay. So what if I move to this type of unit? Oh, well, we charge a $400 transfer fee. Why do you charge a fee for transferring, and why is it so much? Well, it used to be $200. Even $200 for a transfer is ridiculous. Well, they did that because a lot of people were just transferring to be transferring. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell difference does it make? If they paid the fee to transfer, then you were making money when they did it. So what's the issue? What's the deal? So in the end, after talking to my sister and just talking things out, I just agreed now and save up and look into getting a house. And I think that's going to be the more feasible thing to do. I actually have a coworker whose family has been telling him the same thing. And I've actually told him, I'm like, if you can stay with your parents and save your money, when you finally move into a house, don't try to go into this rental market because it's like they're trying to price gouge the ish out of people. And I'm like, even in your worst neighborhood, you could be paying $1,000, $1,200, $1,300 a month for rent. And I'm like, and that's not even in a safe neighborhood. So these companies are charging these ridiculous amounts. They have people now, and okay, and I need to say this. This is no slight to the person at the actual leasing agent that I was working with. I mean, in the end, she was trying to help me work with me. But at the end of the day, I was just done. So I decided not to take that apartment because I'm like, oh, this crap. Which is why I eventually decided to stay here because I'm like, all this stuff, it just all came to a head. But her work, it wasn't as slight to her. It was just the whole process of having to go through all of this. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I'm just at the point now where I think that I'm going to work to get into a house because, to be perfectly honest, depending on where you live, what state you live in, it just doesn't make sense to rent. Because if they're going to be charging you more than what people are paying for a mortgage, And yes, granted, a house is more responsibility. You know, in an apartment, you don't have to, you know, worry about maintenance and that kind of stuff. But if at the end of the day, by the time you've paid this 13 or 14 or 15 or 16, in some places $2,000, $3,000 a month, depending on where you live. And that's the only DMV. I can only imagine where it is. It's probably that much or more in New York, places like New York and California, depending on where you stay. That's a mortgage. You pay that over a 12-month period. How much have you just spent how much money have you just put in somebody else's pocket? And keep in mind that these apartments are not new. It's not like they're brand new developments where these people have mortgages on these places. You're talking about places that have been paid off for years. And so a lot of this is profit that these people are making. So it's just ridiculous to me that these apartments are so expensive. And then you add on top of that some of your neighbors, you know, the children are out all times of the day and night. You know, the buildings are filthy because they're not cleaning up behind themselves. They're spilling things. They're tracking stuff in. I live in a community that allows dogs. And so people, you know, walk their dogs. They'll pick up after their dogs. It's like they're tracking stuff in. I have to tell you, when I left out of my apartment, there's been a dead roach outside in this hallway for over a week. And so when I went in to talk to the leasing consultant on Saturday about renewing my lease, he was like, oh, well, yeah, the cleaning company quit. The cleaning company quit. She said, everybody, all the people that came, that just coming here to clean these buildings, keep these buildings up, all quit on the same day. Now, if my building is any indication of what these people were dealing with, I could see that. Now, I came in earlier and I see that they're putting in call boxes because for whatever reason, these buildings, the front door doesn't lock. So people have been free to come and go as they please, right? And I've had an issue with the laundry room here where I don't know if crackheads, weed potheads, whoever the hell has been camping out in there, they'll go in there and smoke. And so you can smell the stuff coming into my building because my apartment is near the laundry room. Or you would have people go in there and piss because there's a drain. Obviously, because the laundry room, there's a drain there. You would see what looks like urine on the floor. You would see at one point in time the laundry room used to flood. And so the floor would be filthy from people walking in that water and tracking stuff in. And so by the time the cleaning crew came in, it would just be a mess. They would leave their buds, their blunts, and whatever else, their cigarettes out in there. The ashes would be all over the washer and dryers. It's just been, so I'm like, if my building is any indication of what these people have gone through, these cleaning crews gone through, I can understand that. Because like I said, it's not always all management's fault. And I try to be consistent and even with it and fair about it. The tenants also play a role in the cleanliness and the upkeep of these buildings. And a lot of these people just weren't raised right. And I don't want to, and I hate to say that because, like I said, I do live in a predominantly Black community, and most of my neighbors are Black. And most, in a lot of the communities where I was going to move, a lot of my neighbors would have been Black. And so, a lot of these people, they have not been raised right, and they have not raised their children right. And so it shows in the environment. It shows in the environment. So I just wanted to, I guess, record my first live video and also I'm still trying to figure out how this all works. So I'm going to end this here. If you have any horror stories, moving stories, anything, things of that nature, your experience moving and nightmare neighbors and the whole thing, just leave that in the comment section. And I will talk to you guys later.